Hey, welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com and on Twitter at @U_Capper. It is Friday, Black Friday. We just had Thanksgiving yesterday, and we have a full slate of NBA games tonight. I think 14 games total, but we will be breaking down three of the more key games here tonight. I do got to talk about some promos before we get into those games, though. We have that 7-day all access package still available for $69 for any capper over at sportsmemo.com. That's under $10 per day. Only $10 more than the 3-day all access package. So you're getting 7 days for a better deal than the 3-day all access. No coupon is needed. You can use you can use this deal as many times as you like with as many cappers as you want. And this Thanksgiving deal is available through Cyber Monday, which is November 28th. Again, that's $69 for a 7-day all access package. Pretty much, thanking everybody for being part of this Wager Talk and Sports Memo family and just supporting us cappers and also the shows that we provide, the information that we're giving out. It's always a good time when we have more people watching these shows because you guys bring. I think Matt also talks about it when we see your guys' comments. It really pushes us to do more as well. So continue to support us, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us tremendously. Just head over to sportsmode.com after the show and then snatch up some of these deals here. With that said, let's get Matt up in here. Matt, man, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We were just talking about right before the show. There's a little bug going around, but hopefully you didn't catch nothing and you just got a whole bunch of good food and like you said on Wednesday, get drunk and watch sports.
Hey, exactly. That's what I was doing, man. And honestly, yeah, I feel great. A lot of my friends have gotten sick, and I do hear the bugs going around. I'm kind of one of those guys who, like, once a year, I get the flu bad, and then I'm good for the rest of the year. So,
Yeah.
still healthy. Had a good betting day as well. I mean, okay, went 4-3, up 3 units though, so the big unit plays definitely hit. 3-0 in spread bets, so that was cool. It's actually the player props that let me down a little bit. But this week, NBA as well. I'm 9-6 currently, so a good week going on so far. Ready to keep it going today.
Awesome. Yeah, Wednesday I went 3-0 in the NBA, and then yesterday 2-2. But like you said, the bigger plays hit. I had the smaller plays lost, so we ended up being profitable. So a couple of days straight here. Hopefully, this is just a sign for us to continue getting going in the winning ways here. So yeah, let's continue with this positive vibe here and get into this game. The first game here, the Blazers and Knicks. Blazers are 10-8. They are heading into it. They're sort of like heading in the wrong direction. If you look at their record after a strong start to the season, they lost 5 of their last 6 games. I think it's an injury bug that hit them and it really affected like their groove and got them out of sync and all that stuff. Lillard is out again once again today. Gary Payton and Keon Johnson are still out for them as well, and Drew Eubanks is questionable. He's been low key pretty good for the squad here, so I think it'll be helpful for him to be back in here. This is the third of a 4-game East Coast road trip for the Blazers as well. The Knicks are 9-9. They're coming off of a win over the Thunder on Monday, so they're pretty well rested because they didn't play on Wednesday like everyone else did. This is the first home game off of a 5-game road trip as well. They have 3 questionables: Derrick Rose, Mitchell Robinson, and Cam Reddish. I think out of those 3 guys, I think Mitchell Robinson is probably the most impactful to the line and to this team specifically. The Knicks opened up as 5-point favorites. Now they are just 3.5-point favorites. Total opened at 221.5. I'm seeing 218.5, and some 218s too. Do you agree with where the lines are moving in this one, Matt?
So I'll be honest, like for me, if I were to go anywhere with this game, it would be the Blazers. But again, with this spot, I see kind of angles from both sides. In regards to the line movement with the over-under, I think it's going the wrong way, personally. The Knicks are one of those teams where when they're at home or, especially to the guard position, they do not handle that very well. And Anfernee Simons is coming in. This team is really missing Dame Lillard at this point in time. But one thing that I wanted to comment on is Jalen Brunson has quickly, yes, he's been nice on the offensive end, but he's quickly become one of the worst defenders throughout the NBA. So anytime you you have a solid guard matched up against Jalen Brunson, some points are going to be scored, and that's kind of Anfernee Simons here. To your point, the Knicks are back home after a 5-game road trip in which they went 3-2. Their last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, in which they won. And in this matchup, again, they have Cam Reddish, Mitchell Robinson, and D. Rose questionable. As for the Blazers, they're kind of going the wrong way right now. They've lost 4 in a row. And again, back to my point, they are missing Dame Lillard. And this is a team who, they're missing Keon Johnson as well, who's a decent outside shooter, and Drew Eubanks, like you said, I think he's an important factor in this game. They need a true backup center. Their backup center cannot be Justice Winslow. So Drew Eubanks is actually someone I want to keep an eye on going into this game. But for me, this is going to be a Blazers or pass, and again, a lot of this I think comes down to Anfernee Simons, who his over-under has been boosted up for this game at 24.5. And that's really a spot he's only hit like 5 times throughout this season. So the bookmakers are kind of putting his line a little bit higher because I think they agree with the fact that he's matched up with Jalen Brunson, who again is one of the worst defenders throughout the entire NBA. In terms of adjusted net rating as well, Portland is 9th overall and the Knicks are 22nd. And yes, again, without Dame Lillard, so you kind of got to figure out, all right, where's this team going to be in terms of adjusted net rating without Dame? And I still don't think it's up to 22nd where the Knicks are, and then you look at the Knicks at home too. They're 3-2 at home on the season. So they're not that great. They're definitely a team that you can go out and beat on the road. So for me, again, I'm Blazers here or pass. I think this is a solid spot for the Blazers, even though they've lost 4 in a row here. And the reason that I see angles from both sides is because the Knicks are coming back home after a 4-game road trip. I like playing those team spots when they're coming back home. Again, sleeping in their own bed in front of the home crowd. But then on the other hand, you look at the Blazers and they've lost 4 in a row and they have a really good matchup here against Anfernee Simons and Jalen Brunson. So again, I like the Blazers here. Anytime you're going to get points when you kind of see angles from both sides, I'm going to side with the one with the points. So I like the Blazers.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that you like to take the team. Typically, you like to take the team coming home off a long road trip. I'm actually on the opposite side, man, and hopefully we could discuss this real quick because, we've been, you've been touching on some of the SDQL stuff lately, and I've been running some stuff for a few years now. And one situation that I see that favors the road team is when the home team is on the first game back of a long road trip, which is I see it as 4 or more games on the road. So. Let me just point this out here. Since 2018, teams coming off of a road trip of at least 4 games and are now the home favorite, and they're actually more rested than their opponent as well. 35, 57, and 1 against the spread. That means fading that situation is hitting at a 62% rate. So far this season, this spot is 5-2 against the spread as well. So this is all pointing towards the Blazers here. I think a couple of things here is most people probably look at it in that situation where they're finally coming home. They're going to be in their home gym. Maybe the line moves a little bit in their favor, as well as being more rested, right? We always talk about rest advantage in this situation, but they're coming off a whole bunch of travel. So sometimes it takes longer to kind of get their legs back under them, right? So there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at this and why it might work. But to me, it might be because they just move the line. They adjust the line improperly in these specific situations. The other thing too, Lillard being out, I know it's such a big part of that squad, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But this season, the Blazers are 4-2-1 against the spread without him in the lineup. Also 5-2 to the under. So if you're looking at the total, that trend there is agreeing with the total going from 221.5 to 218.5, where it is now. So for me, I think it might be just the books not really adjusting properly for Lillard, adjusting properly for the travel and all that. And the line is finally it's going in the right direction, in my opinion. It's going down 3.5 to Lillard. I saw the line yesterday at 5. So I mean, I'm agreeing with the line movement here. I think this might end up being one of the more my premium plays today. I like this Blazer spot here. I think they have a chance to win this one outright, but obviously you want to take the points to get some cushion there. Any thoughts on the total at all?
I I did kind of think it was going the wrong way. I thought this game might be a little higher just because, again, going back to that Jalen Brunson play, that matchup with Anfernee and Jalen. Again, Anfernee is one of those guys, though, who is very hot and cold. Like I said, the 24.5, he's only hitting at maybe a 25% rate on the season. But he's definitely a huge spark plug. He's one of those guys who he has those days where he literally just does not miss. He draws a ton of attention. And when that occurs, he can facilitate to guys like Jeremy Grant, get him involved. Josh Hart really hasn't been playing that good as of late. But to your point, I love that angle. And I think that's a really good thing to kind of hit the pause button and explain a little further because, like you said, I would have thought that they would have played better at home. But it does make sense that when you're away that long, coming home kind of takes a little bit to get your feet under you. And on top of that, New York Knicks are one of the most inconsistent teams throughout basketball. So that's kind of why I was on a Blazers or pass, because for me, I kind of saw angles from both sides. But now that you explained that a little further, it really is kind of only an angle from one side, and that side being the Blazers. So the direction that this line is going, I also believe is correct.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's part of the key component of the show is to really discuss it, and that's why I like having you on the show, because we're able to have that discussion and really talk about the pros and cons between these games and not really like bash each other for what side you're on or whatever it is. So definitely like the chemistry between us on this show, and hopefully it kind of it pushes towards the viewers here so that they kind of understand what we think about and our thought process when we cap these games. All right, well. That was a good breakdown on that game. I like that game a lot. Next up is the Lakers and Spurs. I mean, two of the lower teams in the league right now. I think they're 13th and 14th over here on the West Coast. Lakers 5-11, coming off a loss to the Suns by 10 points. Prior to that, though, they were on a little winning streak. They won 3 games in a row. They're playing the first leg of back-to-back games against the Spurs, so they're playing each other again tomorrow, and they just played each other a few days ago as well. So they're 3 games within like a week between each other. The Spurs 6-13. Like I said, they're ranked 1 spot ahead of the Lakers in the West. They've actually lost 11 of their last 12 games, including the last 4 by double digits. The game that they played against each other on Sunday, the Lakers and the Spurs, Lakers won that by 31. They didn't have Jakob Poeltl that game, and he's a huge part of that squad. Even dating back to last season, their offensive rating, I think there's like a 10-point gap with him and without him in the lineup. It's tough, right? When you're missing such a key component for that offense. He's like one of those. I explain Jakob Poeltl like one of those guys that I talk about as glue guys. They don't get a lot of recognition because of their name or the stats that they put up. But they're those guys that like do the little things to help the team win, and just kind of keep the team chemistry alive, and basically just do the little things like set the screens and do all these nuances that we don't really see in the stat box. So I think he's a big part of that game, of the Spurs game. And to me, I would look towards the Spurs here. And one primary reason is like when 2 bad teams play each other, it's almost like the team that is favored doesn't deserve to be favored. You know what I mean? Like, so you would likely take the dog here, and obviously that's the Spurs in this spot. I think the line, where's the line at now? It's at +3. I believe it was higher yesterday or last night from what I've seen. So we lost a little bit of value for looking towards the Spurs here. I don't know, man. That's the way that I could look. I could only look towards the Spurs. I'll also lean towards the over because both of these guys play such a fast pace. Both of these teams play such a fast pace, and neither team plays defense. So maybe the over is a good look here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I was on the same angle as you. I'm on the opposite side, but same angle with the over-under. So for me here, the Lakers are running hot, winning 4 games in a row, and the Spurs have lost their last 6 somewhat in drastic fashion. So you would think this is a Spurs spot, and I do understand where you're coming from with that. But for me, with this matchup, I do believe LeBron James is making his return as well. And generally when a big-time player is getting inserted back into the lineup, I do like to fade them because I think it takes some synergy to get it going again. It takes a couple games to get that chemistry going as well. But for me, there's a couple angles that I like with the Lakers here. For one, Anthony Davis absolutely playing unbelievable basketball, has had 30 plus points in his last 4 games and at least 14 rebounds in his last 5. And another big thing with Anthony Davis is the defensive presence that he has been securing and locking down that middle. So to your point, again, I do think it's very, very important that the Spurs have Jakob Poeltl, and because he's a slept-on center throughout the NBA. He does a lot of things very well. He has a little bit of a floater game. He's good in and out of the basket, offensive rebounds, putbacks, and honestly, his assists. He's actually a solid facilitating big man on top of that. But my point being here is he's been great, but I don't think he's been matched up with someone as good as Anthony Davis over the past 4 or 5 games. And Anthony Davis is just playing at such an unbelievable level. And I think when LeBron comes back, this is still Anthony Davis's team. I think they need Anthony Davis to be that guy over LeBron James going forward. So I like his angle here. And then another angle that I really like is Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker's making his return to San Antonio. He started his career with the Spurs. And I think this is a good little revenge spot for him to come out and ball against his ex-team. And to your point, I really do like this the over 232.5, just because both of these teams really like to get out and run. And when two teams like to get out and run, or say the Spurs like to attack the basket, again, I like the look of Anthony Davis with those blocks around the rim, those quick rebounds, and getting those outlet passes up to LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Lonnie Walker. With guys like that on the court, it's hard for me not to see this being a very fast game. And also, when you look at the Spurs, they've been struggling to score the basketball big time. Their best game being 112 points over their last 6 games on this 6-game losing streak on top of that. So, again, I talked about this last show, and the over-under, it did go over when we discussed this because the Spurs had 94 points, 97 points. And it's just like when you're playing that bad, you got to assume you're going to get a little bit better. And that's exactly what happened with the Spurs and the Nuggets, and that total smashed. So I think this is another spot where, because they're going against a lesser than average defensive team in the Lakers, and the same with the Spurs for the Lakers, I think this total goes over. So I really do like this spot, and I would look into the Lakers team total as well. So that's really where I'm going to be looking in this game. And honestly, I didn't look this up, but I think an interesting angle or a point prop to look at is definitely Lonnie Walker. He'll probably be at 16.5 or 17.5, and going against his old team in the San Antonio Spurs, I think he's going to have a good game. And then someone like LeBron as well is potentially back. He can cut to the basket, hit those passes to the corner, stuff like that. So again, like the look of Lonnie Walker as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at that right now to see if there's a lineup for Lonnie Walker. No, I don't see it, and I typically I don't have that many props available up here in Washington. But yeah, that's a good point. The revenge spot here for Lonnie Walker. I like the fact that you mentioned the key player coming back and fading them, because that's what I like to do too. Obviously the chemistry factor, especially when the team was doing well, right? They won 3 games prior to that loss to the Suns. And then they come back in and kind of, I wouldn't say mess things up, but you would have to readjust. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the over is the best way to go, and also the team total makes sense too. I mean, neither teams play defense, and then you don't have to worry about who covers or who wins. You just worry about them putting up points, which is what they can do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point there. I'll need to relook at that game and take a look at those angles. All right, so next up, the Nuggets and Clippers here is the last game on the board that we're going to be talking about. Nuggets 11-7, second in the West here. They're coming off an OT win over the Thunder, and that was without Bones Highland, Michael Porter, and Jamal Murray. So they were shorthanded that game and still were able to take care of business. Clippers are 11-8 this season. They're coming off a double-digit loss to the Warriors. From an injury perspective, Bones Highland and Jeff Green are still out. Michael Porter and Ish Smith are questionable, and Jokic is probable, so he should be in there tonight. Clippers without Paul George, Kawhi, and Luke Kennard once again. So those 3 guys are out. That's a lot of offense. I think we talked about that in the last time we talked about the Clippers on the show too. And when both Kawhi and Paul George are out so far this season, 0-2 straight up and against the spread, losing both games by double digits. Man, I can kind of see that happening again tonight. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. If I were to go anywhere here, it would be with the Nuggets, but I'm actually looking at a total once again. And one thing that I'm liking here is actually the under 218.5. For starters, these are two of the slower teams in all of basketball. The Clippers ranking 21st in pace and the Nuggets 19th. And a lot of that does come down to the fact that the Clippers have the Vicia Zubac, who is someone who needs to get up and down the court, a little slower, a big body 7-foot center. And then you go and look at the Nuggets. It's the same thing with the Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. Jokic is a bigger body. He has to get up and down that court. And the Clippers are a team that when at home, they really do slow a lot of these teams down. The Clippers are averaging 104.7 points per game at home, which is one of the lowest throughout the NBA for home teams. And now that they don't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, and I understand those are defensive presence guys, but this also means that the Clippers will have to slow the basketball game down that much more in order to keep this close. Because without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the edge is definitely to the Nuggets. With Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray's making his way back, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and especially if Bones Highland is back coming off that bench, he's that spark plug guy. He's a guy who can do a lot. And one thing that I do want to point out here is these two benches. The Denver Nuggets without Bones Highland have one of the worst benches throughout the NBA. And the Clippers, when they have to push everyone forward without Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, it's the same story. Their bench is going to get that much weaker. And I do have questions. Okay, how many points can this Clippers team score with, Reggie Jackson, John Wall, Marcus Morris, Ivica Zubac? I have questions about that. How many points can they really score? So because of that, I do think they have to slow this game down. I do think this has to be one of those games where they post up Marcus Morris a lot. They run a lot of pick and roll with Ivica Zubac. So because of that, I really do like the look of this under with the 218.5. I understand this is a pretty low number for the NBA right now, but you go and look at this Clippers team and who they've played at home and how they're doing. And a lot of these games are very, very slow. You go back and you look at the Mavericks and Clippers. That was a 205 total. Clippers and Pistons. That was a 198 total. When they play these slower paced teams, it really does go low. Even Clippers and Nets at home, that was a 205 total. So because of that, I really am looking to this under 218.5. This is one that I'm definitely considering adding to my card as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I did mention, the 0-2 against the spread with Kawhi and Paul George out. They're actually averaging only 100.5 points per game in that situation. So definitely look towards the under. What do you think about the team total under for the Clippers there?
I'm kind of curious what it would be at. If it's low, if it's 107 or maybe 106.5 or something along. If it was anywhere in that vicinity, it could be a little higher. I'd probably go under, honestly. I think they're going to have to slow this game down. And the fact that this is I believe this is a second or third game without Kawhi and Paul George now. So the injury replacement theory just doesn't hold true for me. And when you continue to do that game in, game out without your key stars, that's a lot of points that you're missing. And sooner or later, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. And I think that's this game because you can't count on Reggie Jackson to go out and do that every single game. John Wall, he's getting old, man. He's getting tired. That jump shot looks pretty rough sometimes. So it's really one of those, it's like with John Wall, it's kind of on the day sometimes. Is he going to go out, attack the basket? Is he going to get those calls? Is he going to finish? Is he going to hit his mid-range jump shots? If he's not hitting his mid-range jump shots, it's going to be a long day. And I bet you that total goes under. So for me, the team, if I were to look at a team total under specifically, it would be the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm looking over here. I see it at 107.5.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, 107.5. You're almost on point right there. And then that makes a lot of sense to me. So the two things is Kawhi and PG out. They're averaging 100 per game in those two games. And then you mentioned the home team, the Clippers at home. They're averaging 104 and 4.7 per game at home. And kind of just combining those two situations there, it definitely 107.5 seems a little bit too high, right? Yeah, and then you mentioned the slower pace teams, right? The teams that the games where the Clippers went over, they played the Spurs, they played the Jazz, they played the Lakers, and those three teams are all fast-paced teams.
Yeah.
Teams like the Pistons and the Nets, they scored 96, 95. against the Rockets. Even the Rockets, I don't know how they only scored 95. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That team
Right?
has no defense at all.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that yeah, man, I'm liking this team total under right now. That makes a lot of sense here. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
TT. All right, perfect. Yeah, man. This is why I like doing the shows like this, because I get to find different angles and different.
100%.
Yeah. With that said, that's 3 games down. Time for best bets and what you got going on the premium side, Matt.
Yes, sir. So right now I have one play up on the NBA currently. I'm going to add a couple more to it. I was just kind of waiting, feeling out the card a little bit, but there was one play in particular that I loved last night. I had to grab it early. And once again, I'm on the right side of the CLV, the closing line value. So that feels pretty good. And right now I have 2 NFL plays up. One is a 4-unit play that I'm considering bumping up to a 5 as well. Feeling pretty good about that. And it's been a good week for me. I believe we're like 25-20, I think, over this past week with NBA and NFL combined. So not so bad, up around 10 units, and we just want to keep this rolling. And on the show, we have hit 2 best bets in a row. So let's keep this rolling tonight. And what I'm rolling with for my best bet here is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies -2 against the New Orleans Pelicans. And the Pelicans have won 2 games in a row and are on their second game of a 2-game road trip currently. As for the Grizzlies, they have now lost 2 in a row and are now in their second game of a 2-game homestand. You know, their last game was a loss to the Sacramento Kings, and I believe they get this win because this is their last game at home before heading out on the road again. You don't want to get swept at home, especially to a divisional rival in the New Orleans Pelicans. You know, this is also a team in the Grizzlies who has only won 1 game of their last 5. But when you go back and look, they were without John Morant. He was in and out of the lineup. Without Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson was out and then getting inserted into that lineup. So again, kind of to my and Ron's point earlier, when a big star comes back into the game or a key contributor to your offense, it might take a second to get that synergy going and to get them reacclimated into the offense and on the defense, you know. And tying back to Jaren Jackson, I think he's a very big factor in this game because Zion Williamson has been playing unbelievable basketball as of late. Brandon Ingram has been doing his thing. Jonas Valanciunas right around the rim. But you know, the Grizzlies also have Steven Adams, so he's someone who's nice that can limit Jonas Valanciunas. And then again, you got Jaren Jackson Jr., one of the best shot blockers in the entire NBA, who can help with Zion Williamson and guys like Brandon Ingram. Now, going back to my point earlier, this is a divisional rival and the last game at home for the Memphis Grizzlies. Earlier this season, the Memphis Grizzlies already lost to the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans, and the Pelicans are 4-0 within the division while the Grizzlies are 2-2. This is a hot Pelicans team, but this is a huge spot for the Grizzlies, and I expect them to come to play. When you look at these teams in terms of adjusted net rating on top of that, the New Orleans Pelicans are 3rd in overall rating, while the Grizzlies are 15th. Here's the thing, though. The Grizzlies have had a lot of injuries throughout the season and guys in and out of the lineup. Yes, the Pelicans have had some of the same, but for the majority of the season, they've had their lineup intact. So for me, now that the Grizzlies are kind of getting everyone back, yes, Desmond Bane will still be out, but I really do. I expect a big game out of John Morant. Dillon Brooks has been, oh my God, that guy is so inconsistent. But this is a spot they're really going to need him, and I think he can step up here. And all in all, that addition of Jaren Jackson coming back into that lineup and the defensive presence against this New Orleans Pelicans team, I think is going to help to lead them to victory tonight. So again, a huge divisional spot for this Memphis Grizzlies team. You don't want to get swept by the Pelicans, or go down 2-0 to the Pelicans within the division. So for me, I'm on the Grizzlies -2 here, and I really do like this spot.
Yeah, the other thing to note too is they're going to be without CJ McCollum, right? The Pelicans,
Oh, yeah, yep.
And that's a big piece for this type of specific matchup. I know, obviously, the Grizzlies you mentioned with Bane out and some of the injuries that they're dealing with, but I think CJ in this matchup specifically, I think this is his second game out, and we talk about that injury replacement theory, right? So this is the second game, so this could be the one where we start to fade that. He's such a big part of that offense, right? He facilitates, he scores, he does a whole bunch of stuff for them. So that's going to be a big piece missing.
Another thing too is like with Jose Alvarado matched up against John Morant, Alvarado's incredibly he's up in your face, he's pushing you, he's hacking you a little bit. So I could see him getting into foul trouble very fast against someone like John Morant, honestly, especially in Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised if those refs have those whistles going early. And then after that, I don't know who guards him. So again, I can see John Morant having a pretty solid day tonight.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. All right, well, that's a good bet. I like that. I'm gonna look at that one a little bit more. These big slate, I hate them because it's so hard to look at every single game.
I know.
But my best bet is gonna be on the one that we talked about earlier, the Knicks and Blazers here. I'm gonna be taking the Blazers plus 3.5. Could have got the better number last night, but obviously with Thanksgiving and everything going on, wasn't in the right mindset to make any bets or post any plays. But a lot of things that I talked about earlier, specifically home favorites coming off of a long road trip. I like fading that spot, like I mentioned earlier. If the home favorite is off of a four road game or more road trip, plus they're more rested than their opponent, 35, 57, and 1 against the spread. So fading those situations, 62% rate since 2018. That means fading the Knicks tonight. Also, without Lillard, I wouldn't be too scared because it seems like the books are still over adjusting on the number there. Blazers are 4-2-1 against the spread without Lillard, so I could see the Blazers taking care of business tonight.
Yep.
To me, I think like I said earlier, a lot of the situational factors that are long term. I've been tracking this since 2018. It could have been longer, but hitting 62% at that in 4 or 5 seasons now, it's something that I can continue to kind of back in this situation here. And for me, the numbers make sense along with Lillard being out, showing that the Blazers can put the ball in the basket and continue to play solid defense here. Knicks, they don't play defense. They have been struggling on the defensive side of the ball. So for me, we'll take the Blazers here plus 3.5. I'm still okay with this number, even though we probably could have got 5 last night. That's my best bet for the show today. On a premium side, I think this is probably going to end up being a premium play. I'm probably going to have about I wrote down a couple games here, two more NBA games, and also on the college basketball side, 2 more college basketball plays. So I should have about 5 plays total tonight on the premium card. And again, guys, it's that all access package. You see it scrolling on the bottom. 7-day all access package. Me and Matt, we don't only do NBA. I know he does a UFC, he does football. And getting 7 days to touch on all these sports, it's such a great deal. Just $10 per day instead of $10 per play, which what the typical price is over on those picks and packages. Sometimes even more. So yeah, definitely head over to sportsmemo.com, grab the all access package so you can take advantage of all the sports memo cappers who really touch on a lot of sports, and even the World Cup is going off right now. Matt, I don't know, do you watch soccer at all?
Oh no. No chance.
Well, USA is playing today, actually in like 20 minutes against England, so it's gonna be a fun one for those who watch soccer. Yeah. Like myself. But yeah, hey, one more thing too, Matt. I know you're a big UFC guy. The next one coming up, real quick. Hopefully, we got like 2 minutes to talk about it. But Magomed and Jan, right? I want to hear your thoughts on this because I'm a big Magomed fan, and hopefully he takes it.
Dude, I'd be with you there. I mean, he's one of those up and coming guys. He's very diverse. Like, I mean, I love Jan as well. Especially after everything. But man, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to fully dive into it. Like, so when I take fights too, I watch like both fighters, 3 fights back. I try and find similar stylistic matchups, watch those fights as well, and kind of break it down, take my notes. But yeah, I think I'd be with you there as of now. I still got to break everything down.
Yeah.
But it's there's so many good fights in the UFC nowadays, man. They are doing such a good job, and there's so many up and coming stars.
A lot of stars. Yeah, I love it. I'm a big card collector, so I know who those stars are, and Magomed is one of them. But yeah. All right. Well, like I said, man, all access, dude. UFC, NFL, everything, World Cup. Check it out. Go on the website, sportsmemo.com, $69 for a 7-day all access package. With that said, we will see you back here on Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on this Sports Memo YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you bounce. All right. Good luck. Peace.
Good luck, y'all.